Hey, what's up guys? This is Oakley and we're going to be doing a battle. This is going to be a 4v4 huge battle. It's going to be taking place on the grassy I can't remember, flatlands I think is what it's called in this battle. In any case, we're going to be getting off to a start, so it's going to be a Spanish player, me as Russia, and then Prussia down there, and I believe, yeah, two Prussian players. Facing off against us is going to be Prussia, France, and various other groups. So the Spanish troops are going to be moving forward here. He does even have hidden troops over there. That's some of the Spanish perks. Anyways, my Prussian opponent here charges out, and I noticed that these were all just troops that were close quarter troops, so they're not, as far as I could tell, any troops that would fight back, at least from a distance. So what I was going to do was scoot forward with my mounted rifles. However, the opponent does decide to move forward with his foot guards, so I'm not able to get off any shots, although I do move more guys in just for close support. You can see how I'm folding in everyone. The anticipation is that his troops will charge forward. Look at this. I was standing here. I was hoping to get shots off, but I chickened out. I got cold feet because these guys were so close. In a single volley, they would have taken me out, so I didn't think it was worth it. So I do scoot on out of there before the engagement occurs. Besides, let's keep looking forward at the rest of the battle. So the French line is going to be drawn up here. Heavy dragoons, line of young and old and Swiss foot guard here. A lot of chasseurs in the front. Over here is going to be Great Britain. Triple lines going on here. Very smart move so that shots that miss don't go and hit the rear lines. The Prussian forces here are going to be all the way up against the edge here, although they do move up close and try and get some initial shots, but Great Britain is able to pull back before these guys get any volleys off. But this is a very interesting tactic here. Grouping all your Fusiliers together means, yes, they'll take a lot of fire from shots that miss, but very devastating when the blows do get off. So that's going to be his tactic here for cracking the British line. Yeah, you can see here it does pick off these forces. Return volleys from Great Britain is not going to be enough. Over here, I'm going to be pulling back to the security of these woods. I'm going to be supporting my Spanish ally over here. His cavalry that were in the back did get the charge off on these guys here. You can see he did, kill a decent amount of them. And now he's going to come in for a rear charge. Very excellent move. This charge is going to force these guys to go into square. He's going to go ahead and sandwich this, follow it up. Look at those guys, soaked up the volley. This allows the heavy cav. There we go, heavy cav to come in, mop this up. So this is going to soften up this flank, allow him to push forwards here. These squares are now going to be taking the main fire from these, and I'm going to go ahead and for the majority of this game, go ahead and close this window. It's basically going to be a huge line fight here, and we'll just enjoy the graphics on screen. Cavalry is going to be pulling through these infantry, and in response there's going to be his own cavalry charging in through here. So this is going to be pretty hotly debated. These guys are going to square up. However, they do have a second line that's going to be enough to do damage to those cavalry units right there lined up. They should be getting picked off in a couple seconds once these guys decide to. There we go. So lots of engagements up and down here. These guys are going to reinforce with foot guards against my troops in the woods. They won't be taking too much damage, but when they get their volleys off, I'm going to charge aggressively forward and try and get some initial shots off here. Move up with my own musketeers, reinforce with some more here. These guys are going to be in the line of fire. I do try and pull them back. I was hoping they'd shoot while on the charge, but I decided again to chicken out, trying to be a bit more cautious. These guys are lined up here. I do pull them back so they don't get shot by the crossfire. Now over here, Prussia is moving forward with his Fusiliers, so I'm going to be moving up with my own, and these musketeers are taking some additional fire. I wait for his volley to be hit, to be shot off, and then I'm going to come back in with this triple cavalry charge. These guys are mounted rifles, so they get up relatively close, and then they're going to let loose with their volleys at these guys who are not looking directly at us. And then these guys, I'm going to tell them to engage in close quarters because I want them to be as isolated as possible, is what I'm trying to say. So now I'm going to be getting supporting fire. Nice thing about this is they shoot right above your troops. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. And then I'm going to be charging forward with my own cav, trying to exploit a gap here. We're going to get a counter charge with these Brandenburg Uhlans. These guys are going to do a lot of damage against my unformed lines. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the battlefield just so you know you're not missing anything. Over here, quick engagement. Over here, reform, and the heavy pressure here is pushing back the British. They're going to have to reform this line. Let's get back to my side of the battlefield, which is where the majority of the fighting is going to be taking place. So as you saw, the Uhlans did charge through my line, so doing good amounts of damage, and they're threatening to collapse this flank. Look, this is where we're weakest. So what I'm doing is I'm repositioning these guys to try and get shots off on these Brandenburg Uhlans. I'm going to be pulling back these cavalry here and my own general over here to bait the cavalry forward. So the Uhlans are pulling through my line. These guys are doing a lot of damage. So these guys, mounted rifles, are going to be following them and their goal is to try and screen my troops here, keep them from charging in through here. I did tell them to engage directly, but they weren't doing that. They're just charging alongside them. These guys come in for the support. Over here, my guys in melee do successfully knock out some of his troops here, at least occupy them. And my lifeguard foot here is going to be engaging with musketeers. I was hoping to have these guys rout much quicker than possible, but they do hold out for much longer. In any case, it allows for a break here as I reform my troops and go ahead and occupy the woods, move more cavalry. Over here, my mounted horse is going to be doing damage to his Uhlans. Look at this, they're down to 26, so I'm going to charge both my cavalry units in. And then, foolishly, I might say I do charge my general in, hoping to knock those guys out rather quickly. France launched an all-out charge with his heavy dragoons up through here, so they're going to be engaging. Pretty effective. They are squared up, however, so now I'm going to be folding my forces over here. These guys are going to be coming in to support. They're going to be launching fire on these guys, as well as myself getting in my some of my militia troops in and amongst those dragoons, trying to do heavy damage. Hey, you did see my general died here, so it was really stupid. I should have just kept him out of the fray. He was like first one in. So he charged when there was like 10 or 15 Uhlans left. My general died, and then the unit routed, so that was rather unfortunate. This force here is relatively unopposed. They're going to be charging forward in the near future. Over here, this is going to be a crucial point, probably the most important in the battle. I'm going to go ahead and charge through with my cavalry here, force this line back. These two troops were destroyed by my combined assault here. And now take a look at this. I forced them to square up, but that's not going to be it. My troops are going to keep charging on through. So they're going to be pushing, and now exposed right here is going to be this entire line that's going to allow us to push forward. Right here, fateful assault from my cavalry on these troops here. So not only am I going to be doing significant damage to his guys, but I'm also going to be landing strikes on this force that was hoping to retreat. Pretty devastating assault like that, even though maybe not huge numbers. Look at this, I destroyed those 3 units, makes way for this force that was getting beaten to charge forward. We do go ahead and kill 2 generals right at that moment. So one of them is going to be over here. His general got too exposed, and I did move up my mounted rifles to kill him. Over here I'm going to be charging in with these 2 guys. These guys did reform, so I'm going to be taking damage, but I'm going to charge back with my cavalry again. So this cavalry charge was very fateful. It basically forced these guys back, cracked this central line, and now look at this. All of a sudden, Spain has the initiative. They're going to be pushing up here. This entire front has collapsed because of the cavalry charge. We saw that earlier. Yeah, troops were destroyed in the follow-up assault. Now we've basically opened up this entire flank, and this is where the rolling up of the flank begins. More Prussian cavalry sent from over there to help us out, so we're doing a lot of damage here. I do charge with my cavalry back here, neutralize some of these foot guards, which means I have a 2-to-1 advantage here. However, one of my guys does rout. Over here, this Prussian force decided to move forward. However, I was able to threaten and force them back with the cavalry charge. My mounted rifles that were here charged forward, did some damage, forced them back because now I was getting on too much shots from his men. Look over here. Our guys, our cavalry that were in the back, are now going to be free to roam in the back of the entire enemy force. You may think that's not much, but in this stage of the battle, that is huge. You can tip the tide of certain stalemates, so as you saw with Spain, that is what turned it to my advantage. Over here I'm getting pretty heavily destroyed, so I decided to try and charge in with these guys. His general is warily going to disengage, and these guys form up in square, and look at this. They're still able to get off some shots against my guys, so still pretty devastating. I decided to get some distance and pick out my next target, and that's going to be this front here. Look at this. The French are very, very thinly drawn out. That means A, they may not have enough men to form square. B, if they do, it'll take them a while because they're in such thin formation. And look at this, these guys are about to get their asses handed to them once these guys push forward. And yeah, so that's why I decided to engage here, break this line, and allow us another charge through here. When I do that, it's going to open the opportunity. This guy notices it, that I'm charging from the back. It's going to open the opportunity for these guys to sandwich charge them. Again, over here, we're mopping these guys up, combined Spanish force, destroying these guys. My troops that were here, this guy is still alive. He's going to be pretty important. And over here, I'm just holding these guys at bay. If I were him, I would have charged forward. That's probably going to be the problem for that. And here's the double front. So Freikorps here, you know, they're warded off by this square formation. However, this unit does not get in square in time. I'm going to be smashing through those guys, so that's going to collapse that French front. And look at this, all of a sudden this entire force is free to charge through this gap here, turn in on this line, and clean up this force, which is still pretty healthy, as well as turning on this flank. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here. So this has turned into a line fight. So after the advantage initially that they had over here, the troops of Great Britain did form up, and they did have a lot more of these foot and Highland foot and all these like elite units, whereas the Prussian player here mostly had these Fusiliers. So yeah, that was good in the initial engagement, but now that it's a line battle, you can see the advantage is going to be going to Great Britain, so that's why he's moving his general here to reinforce. But from a strategic perspective, let's look at this. We're bowing the line. This sector that we're looking at right here is probably the weakest at this point, which is why we're going to have to come crack through the center force. You can see that's going to be in the center of this bulge where I charge with my cavalry. That's going to allow us to move forward there and try and reinforce and break forward with the various sides. France was still alive here. I tried to charge in with my militia just to soak up some of the shots, allow these guys to reform. Over on this flank, I'm basically losing the majority of my men. Prussia decided to engage with his healthy force, but what he's going to be realizing is he's now dealing with the rest of the Spanish army. So my army, and I told this to my allies before, was just supposed to hold the opponents and charge through in certain gaps to break armies. So you'll see at the end my kill count is not that good, but I think strategically I did well. With the remainder of my troops, these lifeguard foot, I'm going to have these guys move up into the woods and give supporting fire. These Russian militiamen actually have pretty good stats when it comes to melee, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Basically, they're going to be the meat shields for this force. I know these guys are constantly going to be trying to reform to face our front. These guys are going to be the ones keeping up the pressure, as well as my foot guards moving forward aggressively. You can see these guys are going to try, and my fear is they're going to form up a solid enough line that they can just beat us back. So that's why these troops, specifically these musketeers, are going to be not charging straight at his men, but I'm going to tell them to actually charge right through here. What that's going to do is threaten his flank, keep them from forming up in a solid line and probably defeating us. You can see how weak I am here, especially with these Fusiliers. So that's why these guys are going to be going the roundabout ways, just to keep these guys out of position. You see here, these guys are forced to respond by drawing back the line. That keeps them from doing too much damage. I can press forward and hopefully keep these guys falling back until I can get into close quarters. So I'm going to continue doing that, and what that also does is it buys time for this Prussian flank here to help push through here. Over here, this is where the gap was formed when I charged through with the cavalry. Broke the French here. They're going to be moving forward with some old guards. Those are more than a match for troops in close quarters, so these guys are going to be falling back a bit to their general and delaying the action at least for a little bit. So this is threatening to collapse. Over on this flank, again, it's kind of evenly pitched. Over here, these guys looks like they had some reinforcements, although it looks like it'll start crumbling, and they are starting to get the flank on these guys, so that's perfect. We're starting to envelop them. Back over on this side, the Spaniards are moving forward. However, look at this, their lines are actually pretty thin. Light infantry are definitely outnumbered by the Prussian Fusiliers. These guys have a lot more men, so they should be doing more damage, which is where the Russian cannon fodder comes in. So you'll see me basically charge forward with these lifeguard foot, doing pretty good amounts of damage here. These guys did engage with these troops here, so you can see Musketeers 47 are effectively keeping these guys out of the fight. Yeah, it's 2-1 and I'll probably lose, but it does disengage them from this frontal fight, which is where we definitely need to win. Over here, the Spanish forces are going to essentially charge forward with Walloon guards and various other forces. It looks like this will be probably an even fight, so it desperately calls for some flanking attacks here, or something to change. General's going to be moving in to help with that, but this general mess is going to be tied down, at least for a while, with the Walloon guards, who are kind of dancing around. The melee attack is kind of confusing. I guess he decided to reform them. This is going to be where it's the crucial part. This flanking Prussian force, foot guards, are going to be doing damage. And look at this. I did get my lifeguard foot in here, so they're pinning down this force, keeping them from reforming, allowing these guys to move up, and that's where the real damage is going to be dealt. So that's going to be helping out tremendously with the few men I have remaining. So cleaning up these guys, the general is going to be getting in here. But look at this. This one infantry charge effectively got rid of these 3 Prussian troops here from engaging, kept them from doing anything, and now they're going to be charging in because the pressure is put on here, because we can fold up that flank. But yeah, look at this. If I hadn't charged in here, and if this force hadn't been in here, we're only looking at this engagement. In this engagement, Prussia wins. So a lot of coordination and definitely being helpful, and a lot of support between the allies. Over here, France does have the old guard, but they're about to be flanked, so you can call this basically over. Over here, the British line was able to absolutely wreck the Prussian front. Like I told you, they had just more elite foot, so now they're going to be reforming to face off against this Prussian force. Prussia straight up here against Britain is probably going to lose, so that's why they're going to be falling back to the remainder of our force here. So you can see here how any particular part of the battle could not be won individually by any one army. It required the combined mass of our entire force. Over here, Old Guard are retreating. Fusiliers is the line, the only ones left. And Prussia is constantly reforming, although some of them were isolated. So for instance, these Fusiliers here were destroyed, or at least effectively destroyed. Walloon Guards are dealing with these guys. However, look at this. There's still a relatively healthy amount of men. That's where he decides to charge in with his general. So that's a very noble move of him. Hopefully take out this general staff here, which should allow these guys to crumble even quicker. And it does sort of force these guys to charge. You can see how low their morale is. This cavalry charge was pretty effective, I would say. Yeah, here he is. So those guys lost. I guess they lost a couple men. But yeah, we do lose our general right here. I think it was worth it to delay the action and allow some of these troops to collapse. France is going to fall here. That frees up these troops over on this flank. So now these guys who were pretty much unmolested and just eating away at the Prussian flank are now going to move in, help support this. The remainder of them are going to be sent over here to help support this flank, where it is relatively evenly matched. And just look how ridiculous this battle is. Lines and lines and lines and lines and lines everywhere. But definitely, I was telling the guys in the chat during this game, it was probably one of the most intense battles I've ever fought in Napoleon. Grassy flatlands map like this, huge cavalry charge, pretty evenly matched. I would say all the players were very solid and exploiting gaps, charging in the back, lots of coordination. And the fact that this battle came down to this, very, very close, I would have to say, for 8 combined armies. Yeah, that is a nail-biter, I would say. Prussia and his staff is going to be reforming. Some of the French troops are going to be coming back, so these are chasseurs. These should help pick off some of the foot guards, and he's going to try and pull out these fusiliers. So, reforming of this, but take a look at this. These are basically a general and 2 troops versus 2 foot guards who are, you know, half capacity, if not more. These guys are a little less than half capacity, so it's pretty much sealed on this flank. He's just going to be trying to delay, hoping that he'll, you know, as I said, because this is outnumbered here, this means that we're deploying too many guys over here. So what he's hoping to do is delay this engagement because we have too many guys on this flank, and hope that this is able to turn the tide over here. Great Britain is going to be charging forward. Good thing we put our light troops over here. That means that they're going to be able to outrange the Great Britain, the forces here. And they're not going to take too much damage. So what he's going to do is charge into close quarters and try and crush this wing. Probably a pretty good move because otherwise we'll just pick them off at a distance. So this is going to be kind of a testing grounds. He's going to get up close, hopefully get off some good volleys. Over here, move up to support so these guys can't just turn their flank and get shots off here. Definitely good maneuvering. Let's watch this. So the Highland Foot are definitely elite troops. Yeah, and these guys are going to be getting into close quarter combat. He does retreat 3 of them, keeps 1 up here. Smart move, so 1 of them is always firing. He's going to go ahead and reform behind these lines. So these guys have to stop here, otherwise they'll be in point blank range for these guys, which allows these guys to shoot. So definitely a lot of good kiting. You know, charge some guys back, have them reload, move the next line back, reload, so you always have a constant rate of fire. And over here, yeah, the heroic last stand of this combined force over here. We'll just go ahead and watch these guys. So that's going to be pretty much it for this flank. And the general staff is still eagerly awaiting over there for the opportunity to strike. He's going to go ahead and come over here with this Prussian general, I believe, yeah. And yeah, they're going to go ahead and charge in through here. So relatively good damage, I would say. You know, you got 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 kills off of that charge, especially with these musketeers coming in. But again, this is just foot guards, so at the end of the day, it's kind of over for this flank, and they know it. So this general comes and charges on the retreating troops. So actually, I guess that's our general. But yeah, that's going to be it for this flank. So he's already redeploying 2 of his men that he knows he doesn't need. Over here, Great Britain has taken the woods here, so that's going to be good for holding up this flank. Foot guards against foot guards. Looks like we may have the advantage. Yeah, especially with the outnumbering factors over here. These guys are getting some good shots. When the Highland Foot does get up close, they do have good rates of fire. And yeah, they're just chewing through these Prussian Fusiliers. These guys were forced to sacrifice. The Foot, I think he did charge them through here. Yeah, that's what forced these guys. You can see some of the corpses here. He did rout some of them. These guys are about to rout, hopefully with another volley or so. Nope, looks like they're going to retreat. So, close fought battle here. It looks like, you know, if this was the only part of the battlefield, yes, we would win. But now with the remaining troops reforming over here, that's going to be just about it for the end of the battle. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to the end of battle. I know these are long-winded, specifically 8v8s. Yeah, these can last forever. But at least in an open field battle like this, there's always something happening. No one's ever really bunkered up. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Sorry for the last video that I uploaded. I think it was having some issues with YouTube in terms of the quality. I think it black screened for some of you. I am able to play it, so I don't know what's going on. Hopefully this one isn't corrupted or has any issues. But definitely an epic battle. If it does have issues, I'm going to be re-uploading this one anyways, if it has any issues, just because it was so great and I definitely wanted to share it with you. But let's go ahead and watch some of the noble charges from Great Britain here. He has the dual lines forming up here, getting off some shots, and now they're going to go ahead and charge into melee. So very heroic, I would say, but at the end of the day, desperately outnumbered, and it's not going to amount to much. Yeah, so these guys, I'm surprised. Look at the morale; they're still super high, and our guys are, yeah, musketeers, low morale, low morale. You might even think these guys could turn the tide, which it seems like. Actually, I wasn't watching this closely enough during the battle. It looks like they will. So very effective charge. Follow that up with the volley, and yeah, look, they're able to crush some of our guys. So you know, they're still kicking at the end. These guys are going to go ahead and try charging through here, but yeah, I don't think they're going to get. Well, I said that last time actually, so we'll have to wait and see just how far they get ahead. Yep, that's it. We did turn the tide over here. So charge in, general versus general duel over here. Volley comes off, and I guess the last man remaining is our general. So yeah, good for that. These guys are, you know, they're pretty heroic. Look at this, chasing away 2 units, killing another. But face to face with the fresh line who's going in with the bayonet. Yeah, that's it. They're pretty much done. Go ahead and put it on fast forward again. Just wanted to give you a little taste of the action at the last minute. Coldstream Guards are going to be the last ones here. But yeah, that's it. So definitely a great battle. Here are all the players that were involved. So various people from different clans. 666, Sun Tzu was in here, Imperials, all that. Yeah, I would say I didn't do very well in this battle. You know, I brought Russia, and I didn't get that many kills. Mostly, though, because I would say I was more of a holding front. And as you saw in the battle, I kind of charged my guys through. Yeah, I took losses, but it was able to force other flanks to collapse. This guy, definitely a shout out. He got 2,000 kills. Sun Tzu on our side got 2,000 kills. Yeah, very, very good engagement. So definitely good on all parts. Yeah, my lifeguard got a lot of kills. Mounted rifles, not so much. Musketeers took a lot of damage. Yeah. So, wow. Yeah, my Jaegers were mostly just holding the line against the... yeah, they were outnumbered, so that's why I didn't dare move them up close. Yeah, they would have got more kills, but they would have been destroyed. My flank would have collapsed, and that would have been it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Very long-winded, but definitely worth the stay. So, see you guys next time.